Hey, y'all, welcome to 40 and we're back. This is Rai.
Hey, this is Kiki. What's up, y'all?
This is that Patreon exclusive. So we just dropped 40 and Emo, where we talked with Larissa and talked about therapy. It was a great conversation. Hope y'all have seen that. And so, yeah, this is the bonus material from that conversation. Again, thank you for subscribing on Patreon, supporting the podcast. We really, really appreciate it.
Y'all. Love ya.
Yeah, indeed. And so we wanted to talk about something that we didn't get into with Larissa, which was the wins for us of therapy. Like, where have you seen it? How have you noticed that the quote unquote doing your work is paying off? I know we allude to it a little bit in the conversations. Larissa talks about us doing our work, but we don't actually share with folks what that feels like for us, or where we've noticed that we have done our work. I know for us, there have been moments where you'll be like, oh man, thank God for therapies.
I feel like lately a lot of that has been like, thank God for therapy.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely. I feel like a win. The biggest win is like, number one, being able to process when things happen and not just jumping to how your emotions initially lead you, right? You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm hot. I don't need to pop off. I can literally sit like, wait a minute. Okay, I'm feeling some type of way. I can process it. And then I can give a logical response. And also just being able to be like vulnerable with people. Like, I never was vulnerable. One of my besties, shout out to Shanti, says, you're such a hard marshmallow. So it's like
You really are.
I is, and I'm a Scorpio, so my Scorpions, y'all know the vibe. That always just kind of felt like you're weak if you not necessarily like crying per se, but just like, sharing your hardships. Like, we usually are the stronger people for those around us. We usually are the saviors, the captains, the people that, people call on when shit's going down. I'm the fixer. Right. So, not being vulnerable to have someone like do the same for me. So that's been a big thing. Like, really just kind of admitting when shit's not good, like, no, I'm not good. And that's okay. But this is where I'm at right now.
Yeah. It's funny. You talked about having that moment to breathe and sort of not be led by your emotions. And I've heard you say that so many times, like, don't let your emotions lead your actions, whether you're talking to Kennedy or Zoe, whether you're talking to me. Yeah. Sometimes, when my co-parent and ex is pushing buttons, because that's a big part of it, right? Is when we're in relationships and we're hurt and we're acting out of that space, I think sometimes knowingly and sometimes unknowingly we'll push each other's buttons, right? Absolutely. Like, and so a big part of therapy has been able to not have your button pushed.
Well, the reality is the button gonna get pushed. It's not letting it detonate. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So you can't control how somebody else is gonna fuck with you. You can control.
It's just disconnected. The button is disconnected. Right.
It's like it's not activated. The receptor didn't receive.
Right.
That for me, that was like the biggest thing. And again, I was told that by Rita, the angel psychic. Said my guides, my angel said, stop allowing your emotions to lead your action. But it did not connect and really click until I was in my therapy journey, where I'm like, and now this makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't jump on the first thing you feel and let that hijack and determine how you're going to fuck with people. Because usually it's not the wisest thing.
Right.
It's heated. And so do you just act out of impulse and then you have to come back and apologize or deal with whatever consequence later? Or do you take some time to really let me process it to determine what is the best way to deal with this, right?
Yeah.
So that has been my biggest takeaway and the biggest practice. And for me, it has really shifted on how I have cultivated my relationships in a better way, regardless of like loss and or gains, right? So yeah, that's my biggest, and again, that depends on where you're at and what you need to be doing differently.
Yeah, I remember there are moments I talked about with Larissa, the moment that brought me to therapy in a real way was when I put my hands on my brother. And that was not the person I wanted to be, not the brother I wanted to be, right? And so there have been moments where I'm like, okay, I'm really proud of myself that I didn't send that text off, or I didn't respond like that.
Might have drafted that bitch real quick.
Right. I'll keep it 100 too. There's still those moments where I'm like, damn, shouldn't have sent that text. Wish I could have, take that send back and edit a little bit. But actively in therapy, y'all, actively in therapy. The real story though, or like the time for me, and you talked about being vulnerable and how vulnerability was so key to, I think, to therapy being effective for me, was I had to admit, and not like the crying or like even admitting to other people, although I think that is a part of it, but really admitting to myself, like, damn, you're hurt right now. You're not, anger is a secondary emotion, right? And I would tell young people I worked with and clients I had, like, anger is a secondary emotion, dig deeper, but I wasn't doing that for myself. And the first time that I really did that was with a friend of mine, and she was like one of my closest friends, and I was going through some stuff. I wouldn't even say one of the moments where my bun got pushed. Maybe one day we'll tell everybody the story, but I was defending a young person and got myself into some trouble. And, my people were looking out for me. They would call, they would check in because they knew I was wrestling with it. And this particular friend of mine was radio silence. Right, was radio silence. And I didn't really know what was going on. She was also connected to my ex. So I was like, all right, maybe it's hard. And then, so there's some tension in the relationship. Y'all know how it goes, right? You're like, this ain't really what it's been.
Yeah.
There's a shift, right? But like, nothing wild has happened. We finally do a check-in. And she hits me with, oh, you're so, like, thank God. I said something. I forgot exactly what I said. And she was like, thank God, because you've been hard to be around. And my initial reaction was like, what the fuck? What you mean I've been hard to be around? And all this. And she cites some things. Y'all, if you knew me before this, if you knew me before my therapy journey, I was very much a sweatpants and hoodie, 2 sizes too big, like trying really hard not to be seen as like bougie or materialistic or anything. But she hit me with like, oh, you're so materialistic now. And whatever, we worked through it. I talked about, I was like, yo, you can always tell me if you're feeling some sort of way, or you're my homie. If it's hard to be around me, like, why haven't we spoke about that?
Right, speak to it.
Right, like, just speak to it. And so whatever, I thought it was the coast is clear. Like, we're cleared up. And then come to find out, she was talking about me to another set of mutual friends. Like, again, on some things, and not like, we said this in the episode where you're like, no, if you're trying to process or you're trying to strategize, how do I have this conversation with Ryan? That's one thing, right? But it wasn't that. It was like, oh yeah, she finally told you she don't fuck with you like that anymore, or she was upset about this. And I'm like, this is all brand new to me. This is brand new to me. And we haven't, again, shit is still off. There's radio silence and stuff. And I remember coming to you and being like, yo, I'm about to call her and I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, cause I can get buck. I can get, the tongue can be swift and lethal. And you were like, don't let your emotions lead your actions. And I remember falling back and being like, all right, we're just going to see. How does this, maybe this person just shouldn't, maybe our season's over. Right. And sure enough, we go, I'm like, I'm a hustle hard. I'm building Lear. We're thinking about moving. We're doing this stuff. I'm just going to let it be. And radio silence until we got to do some business together. Now she on my line again. And so it was time, like, and this is where I had to be vulnerable. We're like, I'm not going to meet you with anger. I'm going to meet you with reality. Hey, I feel hurt. I thought we were close. We're not, obviously, anymore. Because this is not how I friend, nor is it going to be how I accept friending.
Absolutely. So
Right.
putting those boundaries into place.
The boundaries, right?
Setting the boundaries.
Yeah. So we met at a coffee shop. She was shook. She, said she was running a little bit late. She came, tried to give me a hug, and I was like, yeah, it's not one of those. She's like, oh, okay. Sits down, and I'm like, hey, like, this has hurt me deeply. And I didn't do anything, so it wasn't on me to reach out and try to say, hey, what did I do to you? What did I do to you? I had been done that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And what ends up happening is people, I think, and this is where, again, being vulnerable, you're like, okay, I'm willing to accept that I did something to you, even if you know you didn't. Yeah. And so you ask people to either get mad at you because you're like a bugaboo, like leave me alone. They just want some space, right? And for those of you that are dealing with some insecurities, that should resonate because you're like, oh, I didn't mean that. I just wanted to know we were good. Yeah. But also, you end up being resentful because you really didn't do anything. So you got to take this L on something you didn't even do. You can't have a real conversation. And it's because the other person, this is the thing I'm realizing, thinking about what's been successful is where I have been vulnerable. If I'm not met with that same vulnerability, now I know our relationship we're going to have to go. Like, that's just a different frequency. Absolutely. Right? And so that conversation, I told her, hey, I think we're got to go our separate ways. Right? And rather than say, hey, okay, even okay, but let me tell you where I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, she was like, cool. And I haven't heard from her since. And so it's
the queen cop out.
Yeah, either that or legit, you just didn't rock with me. And you know what? That's fine. But it was a moment we didn't get hot. We didn't get heated, right? Like, we went our separate ways because of a myriad of reasons, but it was my vulnerability in being able to say, hey, this is how I feel. I'm hurt, and I don't feel like you've been a good friend to me. As a man, that's hard to say, right? You're not supposed to care about those things. So you haven't been a good friend to me, therefore I'm about to move different, right? Your boundaries aren't about what somebody else is going to do. Yep. It's about what you'll do.
Absolutely.
Right? Whereas in the past, before therapy, my vulnerability would be like, hey, I need some attention from you, Tiffany, my ex. You know what I mean? I need this, and you're whack if you don't give it to me, and now we're in a fight. Yeah. Right? It was that. And so that allowed us to both leave with some integrity, have a decent conversation. Is it sad that friendship is over? Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? But I think we could both leave with some integrity. She had done her therapy journey too, right? So like, she didn't yell. She didn't get mad. She didn't get that. Do I wish it would have went different? Maybe. But also, if that's just the way it went, that's the way it was going to go.
Absolutely.
So I think I was really feeling the vulnerability piece, the way you're like, you really have to be vulnerable in therapy, first and foremost with yourself. Mm-hmm. But then also you need to give vulnerability back.
Mm-hmm. It has to be reciprocal, right?
Yeah.
It has to be reciprocal for it to work. It has to be, it's legit a give and take. It's a give and take. No, I remember that experience.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I thought you handled it very well. I think we're similar in the way of we want to be the fixers, and we're the eldest, and we're the alphas. And so it's like, we get shit done, frankly. You know what I'm saying? But also, that was a big part of my therapy journey, was learning, is like, it ain't always on me to fix it, especially when I'm not the one who has violated the situation. I don't have to continue to be the bigger person or the mender when you done fucked me over. What the fuck am I calling you to ask you, why did you fuck me over? You know, unless it's bothering me to my core, where I'm like, yo, what's up?
Right.
So which I do that. Don't get it twisted, folks. I'm gonna give the olive branch so there can be a conversation had, but also like, I don't need to fix something that I did not break. Period. Yeah. You know, I'm open for dialogue, but it's not on me to fix something that I didn't damage. You know what I'm saying?
It takes a therapy journey to realize that too. Of just like, hey, this ain't for me to fix, and to let go of control in that way.
Yeah, and I'm a control freak.
Yeah,
and that was, I think that was the hardest thing for me. And also, I think a lot of people, again, because I'm totally slick with it, and in my mind, I'm a thug. I'm thugged out. But also, like, the people who really fuck with me, I am very sensitive, and I for no means, I don't like drama. I don't like conflict. Am I a straight shooter? Absolutely. Am I direct? Absolutely. Am I honest? Fucking absolutely. Too honest sometimes. That is also a flaw at some point. You know, like, I didn't have to do it like that. I didn't have to say it like that. But I still meant what I said, and I said what I said. But I think people think because a lot of people to bring it all the way back, I guess I didn't mean cop out. I meant avoiding. A lot of people like to avoid. Oh, okay, well, you rather avoid what it is. Let's really red table it out and sift through it, regardless what we walk away with, regardless what the outcome is. But at least both truths have been told.
Yeah.
That we can agree to disagree, whatever it is. I feel like you feel much lighter that way. You're not holding on to resentment. It doesn't turn into something else. I too can share a story. Since we get into the tea. Again, I don't like conflict. I don't like heavy energy, especially as I continue to really clear my peace and really decide to put boundaries in place and really stick to them to like sift through the bullshit. When any person or place that does not fuck with me or like me any good, you know what I'm saying? And it took a while to sharpen that tool. I too, a very close friend, family is what I like to say, y'all. Had to have a hard conversation. And I don't think people understand that aspect, right? So if I have to have a hard conversation with you and give you some news on like, oh, okay, this isn't the shits and giggle talk. We got to lean in and have a hard moment. And this was pertaining, us planning our wedding, y'all. So we're planning our wedding. And I'm at the stage of like I'm doing everything with intention just because I didn't do that before. And we just do shit sometimes about to fly at a wind. Like, okay, we're supposed to do these things, but why? And you don't question yourself. You just do it. And then you're like, well, how the fuck did I end up here? I did not go through the steps. So now being intentional, like, yo, who are we going to have in our I Do crew? Who are the people who have been very instrumental in helping us, blend and build our family, build our foundation. And shit has been reciprocal to both you and I, not just these are my people. Like, they fuck with you just as hard as they fuck with me.
The I Do crew rocks with all of us.
Yeah.
Or both of us.
Absolutely. So the reality is we could have had everybody be standing with us, but so we really had to sift it out, and they're like, okay, it's really like on why did I get married? The pros and cons list, right? Jot shit down. What has the experience been like? Now we got to really get to the deets of it, the details. So going through that, very close friend, I'm like, okay, we had some occurrences within us dating and us building.
Yeah.
Shit started out great. Most of the times were good times, but there was a moment when
we were close.
Y'all were close.
We had our own relationship.
They had their own relationship. Y'all had y'all's own relationship. So I'm saying they to the public, y'all.
Yeah.
To which that was different for me because now I had to like, okay, let me not get in y'all shit, maintain our shit, and maintain our shit.
You did a good job at that.
I thought so.
You did a really good job at that. I think she would say that too.
Yeah.
I think she would say that too.
And for most of the time, again, it was all love, all good. And there just came a time where it's like, okay, shit hit the fan. She was having relational problems. And we all know when we ain't good, sometimes that trickles down to your family, your friends. And there was no love lost, and we tried to get on a path of repair. Now looking at it, like I said, I felt like it was a patch up, and it really wasn't an active repair. It was more patching things up. But also, I was able to give grace in terms of our history. And it's like, yo, yeah, you had to be going through something because that was totally not you, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, bet, we good going forth. So getting back to now, we're planning this wedding, and there actually are other individuals that just so happen to be like, our shit's been good all the way around, and it's never had to be enforced. I felt love on all costs, on all realms at all time. You know what I'm saying? And also, like, these are some of my longer friends, if you want to get technical, right? These are people that I have known shit. Either look from birth, I'm probably older, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Grade school friends, but also just if you want to get technical, because people want to go off history, it's like, well, they do have a longer history than you.
Right.
It's all good. I had to muster up the courage. Like, damn, I gotta have this talk.